Oh, it bit. Aww. Hey guys, for this week's video I am going to be talking about all of the popular book series that I haven't read. And originally I was going to do this in order from least surprising to most surprising, but I think I'm just gonna go in the order that I wrote it down, and I'm sure that I missed a ton of book series, and if I did, let me know and I'll try to read them. Honestly, I think I have like 40 books right now that I own and haven't read. So, I mean, I can't promise, but I'll do my best. Okay, so I thought I owned An Ember in the Ashes, but I don't. But I also have not read that book either. The first book series that I heard a lot about on YouTube when I first started watching BookTube was the Mistborn series from Peruse Project. I may be pronouncing that wrong, but I love her videos and I heard her talking a lot about the Mistborn trilogy and many great things, and if you watched my last video, you saw that I finally got it. And I don't know when I'm going to read it, but sometime soon. Mistborn. And the next book series that I haven't read is the Lux series, and I really don't know much about this series, but if you want me to read it or you think that it's incredible, let me know and I'll try to make it go a little bit up higher on my TBR list. So originally, when I first made the list for this video, I had not yet read the Mortal Instruments series, and now I have. So I own all of these books, and I've read all of these books. So this isn't really in this list, and we're just going to set this down, and I'm going to try to find a spot to put it back somewhere. Another book series that has been getting a ton of hype lately, especially with, I think, a pre-novella that came out with it, and then the sequel is coming out, is Red Queen. And I also just got this in my last video book haul, and I'm hoping to read this one pretty soon, especially since the sequel's coming out. One series that I know just got its final wrap-up book, and its last book in the series, is the Lunar Chronicles. And my mom got me Cinder for Christmas, and I just have not gotten around to reading it yet. And then on Black Friday, Barnes & Noble had not necessarily a sale, but they had a ton of books that were signed by the authors. And so even though I haven't read a single word of any of these chronicles, I got Winter signed by Marissa Meyer. Is that her name? Boom! That's her name! I'm telling you, this book's so hyped. I even know the author and I haven't even read the series yet. So I'm thinking this may be my next series to read, just because I'm super excited to get into this world, and I love Disney, and this is like Disney and sci-fi all mixed in one, which is possibly the best thing that could ever happen to me. Another series that I've heard mixed reviews about is the Grisha trilogy, and so I have the first book, Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo, and I've heard really good things about her writing, but I've heard that the story doesn't progress in a way that people would like it to. So I know that the Grisha trilogy has a spin-off series, and it's, is it called the Six of Crows series? I don't know. I just know that Six of Crows is the first book. I thought that all of the books were going to be printed with these magnificent black edges, but then I heard that it was just a limited time offer, and so even though I haven't read the first series, I had to get the pretty pages. And I know that you don't have to read the Grisha trilogy before you read Six of Crows. I just would like to. I like the follow-up, and I know that this one builds the world more and in a better, more expansive way. I want to read the first series first. Another book series that I've heard quite a lot about, and I think it was a really big deal a year or two ago, was the Shatter Me trilogy. Is it a trilogy or duology? I still don't know. So I don't own those books, even though I own about 40 books that I haven't read. I don't own the Shatter Me trilogy series. I should probably read some others before I get on to that series, because I've heard that the characters don't necessarily have the best character development, and there's a weird love triangle, and I really don't mind love triangles. I know that a lot of people hate them. I just mind when they don't end up with the person that I want them to be with. Another series that I've heard a lot about is the Raven Boy series, and I read, or at least I tried to read, Maggie Stiefvater's Shiver trilogy, and I just never could get past the first book, and I don't know why, but I've heard that her writing style in this is completely different from the Shiver series, and that this book is so hyped up and crazed about that I really want to read it. And I know that people fall in love with the characters, and there's really nothing better than a book where you fall in love with the characters and feel invested in their lives. So, I know a couple names from this. I'm like, there's Blue and Gansey and... Wow, I said a couple. That was a couple. The next book series that I've heard a lot about, I heard on Kat's channel. I feel like I'm talking about her like I already know her, even though she doesn't know I exist. But I know she loves the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and I've heard a lot about it, and I've heard that it's really, really beautiful writing by Laini Taylor, and I haven't gotten around to reading it, and I still kind of have no idea what it's about. I think it's urban fantasy, but I could be completely wrong. Let me know if I am. Maybe I'll read the blurb at some point. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just jump into it and read it from the beginning, having no idea what it's about, because I like to do that sometimes, and it makes me feel adventurous, when really I'm just sitting in my room reading a book, feeling adventurous. Another book series that I've heard a lot about is Anna and the French Kiss, and then I think there's like Isla and Happily Ever After, and then there's another one. I just know it's a trilogy, and I think it's like contemporary romantic style, and that's not generally the genre of book that I enjoy reading, but I am open to ideas and opinions. So the next book series that I haven't read before, and I know it's a huge deal, is the Lord of the Rings series, and I really, really want to read them because I'm just a complete nerd, and I'm aware of the fact that I'm a nerd, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm a nerd, and I really want to read the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I read The Hobbit in 9th grade, and I really, really loved that book, even though a lot of people in my class hated it, but I really enjoyed it, and I liked the world, and I liked hobbits. So that goes along with the series. Another book that I haven't read before is the Game of Thrones series, and I've seen the TV show, and I really enjoyed it, and then I got bored season 5 or season 4 and stopped watching it, and maybe I should continue with it, but I haven't read the book series because they're still going, and I'm scared that they're not going to be completed, and I really don't want to start a book series if they're not going to be completed, because I feel like that would just make my heart shatter. I'd be like, what happened to these characters? Are they okay? What are they doing now? How's their life been? I can't live with that kind of uncertainty, so I have not read the series yet. I will read it when it is fully completed. Another book series that I haven't read is the Legend trilogy, and I've heard mixed reviews on this. I know that some people love it, but I've also heard that a lot of people don't like the last book and that it didn't wrap up the series in a nice, complete way. So I'm still going to read it because I think it's dystopian and action and 2 different points of views, and I love those kinds of books. So I'm gonna give it a go, give it a shot. I'm gonna try it out. So we're gonna go into like a mini Rainbow Rowell section, and this section is just 2 books, but we're gonna go to it. Originally, when I made this list, I had Fangirl on it. Since then, I have read Fangirl. I loved Fangirl. Fangirl made me feel like I was wrapped up in a fuzzy little blanket in front of a fire, and I just felt very comfortable reading it, and I felt at home. So that was a nice feeling. And now I'm moving on to Rainbow Rowell's book series. It's a series. It's not a series, it's just a single, standalone. Eleanor and Park. My friend told me about Eleanor and Park in 10th or 11th grade, and I know that I've heard it's not a very realistic relationship, but it still sounds like a cute relationship, and I got it for $4 off of Book Outlet. So I got it, and I'm gonna read it eventually. It just may take me some time. So the next book series I have is actually because I watch a lot of Book Utopia's videos, as I'm sure a lot of you do, and this is her favorite book, basically, Outlander. And this is another one that Barnes & Noble had signed, and so I got a signed copy, and it's a lot heavier than I expected, and it's not that large of a book. But I'm still really excited to read it, and I know that there's a TV show. I also had A Court of Thorn and Roses on this series list when I made it, and as you can tell, I've read quite a few books since then. Obviously not any of these, but I read A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I loved it, and I need the next one right now. I already pre-ordered it. I'm ready for it to come in. I need it in my hands. So the next book that I haven't read is Snow Like Ashes, and I've heard a lot of really good things about this book, and it doesn't seem like a very long read, and I feel like I should just knock this out really fast because the cover makes me happy, and I always buy because of the covers. Not always, but it's definitely something I do. The next book series that I haven't read is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, and I know that Jessie the Reader loves this series, and I haven't read it before because I'm a wimp and it looks creepy, to be completely honest. I don't think it's meant to be a horror story, or I think it's just meant to be eerie. I don't know, but there's like pictures in here. Like, what is that? I'm going to read this. I am. I just have to do it in broad daylight, and only in broad daylight, which may take me a couple of days because I usually read when I'm going to bed. So I really apologize if there's a lot of people ashamed of me, but the final book series that I have not read is Harry Potter. and I know that so many people love this series, and you may have seen it on my shelf in the last video and been like, oh my god, I wonder what house she is. And my answer to that is I have no idea, because I've never read it, and I've heard incredible things, and I know that another book is coming out, and this is like this iconic series, and I haven't done it yet, but I also own all of them but one, so I promise, maybe, I don't want to promise, but when I buy the next book, I'm going to do my best to read this series, because it's also really massive. So let me know any popular book series that you haven't read down in the comments below. I would love to talk about why we haven't read them, because there's probably really no good reason, we just haven't gotten around to it, or there's another book series that you want to read more, and there's nothing wrong with that. You read the series that you want to read. And that's my inspirational speech for the day. Thank you for watching. I will be back next week.